right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you guys so much for jumping on this call. We're going to talk about re-enrollment for the 2020-2021 school year. Everything's a little different this year, obviously with COVID-19 and shutting down and just everything. I know you guys are as aware as we are of just how much the world has changed since March. But it's great to sort of virtually be with everybody here. And for those of you who are watching after the fact on this recording, just know that we've been thinking about you guys, and we have been really hard at work getting ready to reopen safely, but also, eager to get our kiddos back and to keep learning and playing and being a part of our community. So just want to start off saying, we love you guys. Before we jump into re-enrollment tutorial, I did want to let you know that if you have a question at any point, you can type that question into the chat feature here and I will answer it as I'm able. You also can use the raise hand function, and I will, if me or Chris see somebody click raise hand, which you can do from the reactions menu or from the participants menu on Zoom, that we can take your question over audio too. But otherwise, if you would stay muted during the presentation, unless we call on you for a question, that way everybody can hear as best as they can. So we're going to talk a little bit about what our new safety procedures are going to mean for re-enrollment, but I did want to assure everybody that safety is our #1 priority. If you have any questions during this presentation or moving forward about that, we'd love to answer them. Right now, we're still waiting on some state guidelines to be finalized to know exactly what that means for us. But for right now, what it means is if you're a part of our delivery systems, we're doing contactless deliveries for lunches and for activity kits. We're requiring masks and frequent hand sanitizing and hand washing at our building for the staff and volunteers who are up there. And we are doing a very thorough disinfection of our entire building and our classrooms before we bring families or kids back in. So that's what that means for right now. And we're eager to get more direction from the state and the city as they release those details. And next, I just wanted to let everybody know that we will still be having our back to school bash this year. That is traditionally the Friday before school starts, which is this year, Friday, August 14th. It's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be different this year. We're going to do a drive back to school bash. Still working out those details. But if you have a school-age kiddo, just know that they will still be getting a backpack from us this year. And we'll be giving those away on Friday, August 14th. Fort Worth ISD, if you guys didn't see, they released some information yesterday about how they will be opening up the schools. So they are going to be giving families a choice this year, at least for this fall, of whether or not to come back in person or online. They haven't released a whole lot of details about what that looks like, but starting on July 1st, any family who attends Fort Worth ISD can select whether if they would like to have their child continue with online learning. And they said they've done a lot of training this summer on how to improve that. So if your family is at high risk, or if you're not comfortable sending your kids back to school yet, just know that that's an option that the school district has made available to you guys. So now we're going to go ahead and get started on our tutorial for re-registration. This tutorial is only covering the process for families who were already enrolled at Fortress or who were already on our waiting list. So for first-time families, this won't apply. If you're a first-time family, the process for enrolling is different. So this is just covering if I've already enrolled my kids before, what do I do to get them back on the list? Let's start with talking about who is eligible to re-enroll this year. So for 2020-2021, our after-school registration is open to kids and only to kids who were already enrolled at Fortress for COVID-19. Because of the new restrictions placed on us and some funding limitations, we're not able to take any new students this year who weren't previously enrolled in our programs. So that also means that we are only going to be enrolling pre-K, and that's pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 through 3rd grade. So unfortunately this year, due to COVID-19, we won't be able to enroll students in the 4th or the 5th grade. We also will only be accepting students who are attending in-person school. So I mentioned that the ISD is allowing families to return to online instruction. Students in our after-school program will have to be attending Van Zandt Gwen in person. And this is not to penalize anyone who feels like their child might be safer learning from home. If you choose to keep your child out of school this semester and then you re-enroll them later, we will be giving those families top priority for re-enrollment, which means that you'll either be readmitted immediately or you'll be at the top of our waiting list. So please know that we don't want to penalize you for if your family has health needs. And if you decide that continuing online learning this semester or this year is best for you. I also want to say here that even though we aren't enrolling 4th or 5th graders, we anticipate that next year that won't be the case, that we'll be re-enrolling those older grades moving forward. So if you have a 3rd grader this year, please don't worry. It is highly, highly unlikely that that will continue to next year. We really think that by next year we'll be open to 4th grade and then 5th grade. Preschoolers. Preschool registration is also open to returning students and their siblings, if their siblings are between the ages of 6 months through 4 years. So if you are a returning family and you have another child who is eligible for preschool, that preschool registration is open to you. After we've enrolled existing families, we also will open up to families who were on our waiting list before, but we do have new restrictions for new families about residency. So moving forward, any new family who enrolls with us will have a residency requirement of 76104, that zip code, or Butler Place. In addition to that, first priority will be given to families who are zoned for Van Zandt Gwen Elementary, and that includes the Butler Place and Historic Southside neighborhood. So again, if you have a preschooler who was enrolled with us when we closed after spring break, no matter where you live, they and their siblings are eligible to re-enroll without having to live in 76104, but any new families will have to meet that residency requirement. If there aren't any questions about eligibility, we'll go ahead and move forward and look at the steps to re-enroll. So any returning families or families who are already on our waiting list will need to go to www.myprocare.com. And that's where you're going to go to re-enroll. Families who have never applied for our programs will need to follow the link that's on our website. Both of those links can be found on the Fortress website, which is fortressydc.org. But today we're just going to go ahead and start at myprocare.com. So once we get to myprocare.com, it's going to ask you here on the home screen to begin by your email address. The first thing that you're going to need to know is what email address you used previously to enroll your children. Your children's re-enrollment is tied to your email address. So if you can't remember what that email was, or if you don't have access to that email address anymore, you can contact Chris and he can let you know what the email is that we have on your file. And he can also change that email address if it's one that you can't access anymore. So we're going to go ahead and put our email address in now to re-enroll our kids, our little fictional family here. So if this is the first time, and go ahead and click secure login once you've typed that email address in. If this is the first time that you've re-enrolled, it's going to ask you to put in a code that it sends to your email address, and that's just to verify who you are. But since we already made an account, it's just going to ask us to put our password in. We did that, and it's going to take us to our account screen. If you don't remember your password, there's also going to be an option that says you can click forget password, and it'll send you a reset confirmation code. So once you've created your account or you've gotten in with your existing account, it's going to take you here to this account home screen. So you're going to see a few things here on this dashboard. First, you're going to be able to see what children you have enrolled on your account. So on my account here, I've got 2 kids. I've got SpongeBob and I've got Patrick. Those are the kids who are going to be re-enrolling. Now, what's important to know is that I can't add any new kids from here. So if I wanted to add, say, my new child Squidward to this list, I can't do that from here. What you have to do if you have a new child in your family who's enrolling is you need to contact Chris first, and he will add that child to your account, and then you're able to enroll them. What you'll need to give Chris if you have a new child, he just needs their first and last name, their date of birth, and their gender, and then he can add them, and you can come back here, they'll show up, and you can enroll them. On this screen, you also see something called account balance. We don't charge for our program, so that's always going to say 0. It's really nice anytime you have a bill that's $0, so you're welcome. The second thing is there at the bottom under alerts. Everybody should have something, that alert that says registrations are available. So what you're going to do is click view under registrations are available, and then once you've clicked that, it'll say begin registration. So we'll go ahead and click begin registration. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to see those kids who are on your account again, and we're going to just select which kid we're re-enrolling. If we're re-enrolling more than one, you're just going to select the first one to start with. So we're going to select SpongeBob as our first child to re-enroll. So we're going to click.
SpongeBob is a preschooler, is that okay?
Yes,
okay. Yes,
we're re-enrolling SpongeBob into preschool. So once I've selected that child, I need to choose which program I'm going to enroll them in. So I'm going to click select programs. And then I'm going to choose here which one. So we've got preschool and after school. And so preschool obviously is for kids who are not enrolled in public school yet. And that's anywhere from, we're open from 6 to 60 months. After school is for kids who are enrolled at Van Zandt Gwen. So SpongeBob is a preschooler. He's not in school yet, so we're going to click register next to the preschool box. And then we'll review child information. So since you're re-registering your families, you're going to see a lot of information already on their registration screen. Really, the process of re-registering is just checking that the information we have is still accurate, and changing and adding anything that needs to be changed or add. So the first thing you're going to see is the relationships that we have associated with that child. You can edit existing relationships. So for instance, if we've listed Mary Smith as somebody who is able to pick up that child, but say Mary Smith moved away, or we don't trust Mary anymore for some reason, we can click no next to her on pickup. And that's going to tell me that she is no longer a person who is authorized to pick them up. Now, if Mary Smith is somebody who shouldn't be listed at all as an emergency contact, as somebody in the household, you also can click that little X next to their name, and that's going to remove them from that child's relationship. So you also can add new people here. If you want to add somebody, you're going to click add new relationship here at the bottom and create a new person. So go ahead and click that. And so what you're going to do here is enter a new name. So if we want to add a new person to this list, let's say uncle or Auntie Barbara. We're going to add Auntie Barbara to the list. And then if they are an emergency contact, I need their phone number. So please make sure you give a for anybody who's an emergency contact. An address is great if you have it. If you don't, we can get it from you at a later time. We use that to verify if they're picking the child up. We can use that information to verify their identity, but it's not, you don't have to have it to put them on this list. And I'm going to scroll down more, and I'm going to choose what relationship this person has to my child. If it's their auntie, I'm going to click aunt there, but you see there's a lot of different options. So you can put step parents, you can put doctors, you can put neighbors, family, friends. This is really important for us, and it is required information to add a new person. So go ahead and click aunt. And the child doesn't live with their aunt, but we're going to say that their aunt is an emergency contact and that they're allowed to pick the child up. And then I'm going to click add relationship. Super straightforward. So the next step is to review our registration questions. So I'm happy with all of the relationships on here. And so now I'm just going to check these questions and make sure that they're all still accurate. So the first question here is, what name does the child prefer to be called? Just make sure that this name is what you want the teacher to call your child. If the child has a nickname that's like a family nickname, but you don't really want their teacher calling them that, you don't need to put it here. But say if you're like me and my legal name is Danielle, but I don't go by Danielle, I go by Danny, that's where I would want to put this, like, you know, please call my child by this preferred name. The next thing is just a review of the rest of these questions. It's going to ask you again what program you're enrolling them in, so just make sure that preschool is selected there. And then it's going to ask about their race, ethnicity. If your child is multiracial, you can check more than one here. Check all that apply to your child. Then review any medical conditions that your child might have, including allergies, chronic conditions, or cognitive and learning conditions. Because I'm enrolling this child in preschool, it's also, as I move down this list, going to ask me if my child is potty trained. I'm going to answer questions next about behavioral concerns. This is not to exclude your child. This just helps us know, you know, what developmental behaviors that they're demonstrating. And so I'm going to answer those questions, and then it's going to continue to ask me more questions about health and wellness. If there's any medications that the child is taking, you'll list those there. And then this question is, has the child been hospitalized in the last 12 months? You'll select yes or no for that. And if they were hospitalized, you're going to give the reason for their hospitalization. The next thing to review is your child's physician and their preferred hospital. An important thing to note here is that when you enter a phone number for a physician or a hospital, it doesn't let you put dashes in, and it's going to do this funny thing where it puts 0.00 at the end. You don't have to delete that. Just know that we know that that's a phone number. It's just a silly thing that the system does that it shows up as a decimal there at the end. The last couple of questions are just to verify. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. The third to last question is about immunization records. If your child is enrolling in preschool, we will either need you to provide their immunization records or provide proof of exemption for them. So you'll select one of those two. If your child is an after-school student, you can select that last option, which states that they're on file at Van Zandt. The last two questions just verify that you're authorized to enroll the child in our program and to share the names of anyone else who might be authorized to sign paperwork like permission forms for the child. So if there's another parent or legal guardian, just make sure you list their name there so that we that they are authorized to sign on your behalf if we have anything that at pickup time needs to be signed. And then we'll click continue. So if there's any information on here that you haven't completed, it's going to let you, it's not going to let you click the continue button. So if you try to click continue and it doesn't let you, just go back and check and make sure that anything that has an asterisk next to it, that you've filled that information in. If you have another child on the account, it's going to ask you here if you want to register them. Since I do have another child, I'm going to click yes. So then we can see what other children there are to register. And I'm going to select my second child, and we're going to repeat the same process. So I'm going to select programs, and I'm going to enroll this child in after school. So we'll click register next to after school. Review child information. And then this process is going to look almost identical. One thing I do want to point out here is that when we look at relationships, the relationships for each child are individual. So because I removed Mary and added Aunt Barbara to the other child, it did not automatically do that to this child. And that's okay. If I click add new relationship, at the top here, it's going to show me available contacts. And it's going to have automatically put Barbara there so that I can add her to this the second child. So we'll click Barbara, and we're going to say that Barbara is this child's aunt too, and that she also is an emergency and a authorized person for this child. So I don't have to re-enter her name or her address or anything, but I do have to individually add her to each child's account. So I'm going to click add relationship there. This is just very important. Please make sure this is probably the most important step for re-registering, is making sure that your contacts are still accurate. So I'm going to review the rest of this child's information and make sure there aren't any changes that have occurred. And I'm going to update information for questions that maybe I left blank before, or maybe they've changed. So for instance, on this after school one, it's going to ask me, does the child attend Van Zandt Gwen Elementary? Yes. And then it's also going to ask me what grade the child is going to be. So hopefully that has changed from last year. Hopefully your child was promoted to the next grade if they're in after school. So you'll need to make sure to go ahead and update that for what grade is this child going to be in for this upcoming school year. And then just like the rest of the application, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to review. I'm going to make sure that my child hasn't developed any new allergies, no new medical or behavioral conditions, no new cognitive diagnoses. If they have stopped having a bad behavior, I can uncheck that. If they've started or stopped medications, I will update that here. If they've been hospitalized since I last filled this out, I'll update that here. You can check all of their medical information. So just scroll through and make sure that that information is correct. Once I'm sure that I've added or updated all that information, I can scroll all the way down to the bottom. And then again, it's going to let me, I'm going to click continue. If it lets me click continue, that means I've answered all of the questions I have to answer. So now I'm going to have a chance to review which children and programs I've enrolled in. So I see I've enrolled Patrick in after school, and I've enrolled SpongeBob in preschool. And if I'm sure that that's all the kids I want to add and the programs I want to add, I'll go to that bottom of that screen and I'll hit continue. So this is the very last page for re-enrollment. This is just where you're going to check your account information. And account information is just information that's the same for the whole family. So these first three questions just talk about how you prefer to have communication. So you can share which ways it's best for us to communicate with you. We generally send the same types of communication out, but For instance, if you don't get text messages to your phone, that's great for us to know. This is also where you can share language preferences. So once I've updated that, I'll click Account Info. That's going to take me to information about my home address and my phone numbers. And this also is very, very important. Please just make sure your phone numbers and your address is up to date. So I'm going to verify that that's correct. If you need to change your carrier, that allows us to send you text messages if you share what carrier your phone is through. So once I verify that that's all correct, I'm going to hit submit. And it's going to highlight green. That means that it's accepted all of my information, and I need to hit that green submit button one more time. And that's going to take me to a confirmation page. It's going to say, thank you for registering. It's going to send you an email that shows your registration information, and then it's going to send us an email that shares that you've re-registered your child. Once you're on this page, if you notice any mistakes, contact us and we can change that on our end. But otherwise, that is how you re-register your kiddos. Hopefully not too complicated. So there's just a couple of tips that we want to share about re-registration. We did this on a computer, but you can re-register from a phone, a tablet, a computer. They're all going to look similar to what we just did. So even if you don't have a laptop or a PC, you can do this on any device that accesses the internet. I also want to say that even though we are officially closed, if you need help accessing the internet or you need help getting onto a device to complete registration, you can make an appointment to come to Fortress, and we will have a computer especially set up for you to do registration. And we will be at Fortress typically Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5. So you are more than welcome to call or text Fortress or Chris, and we'll be glad to set that appointment up for you. Last, if you have trouble completing this registration for any reason, including if English isn't your first language, or if you have difficulty using a computer or a phone, please call Chris and he would be very, very happy to help you get your child re-registered. We don't want this to be a barrier to anybody. This goes really fast for most people, but if you're not one of those people, we don't want this to be a hindrance to you at all. So please let us know if you need any assistance with re-registration. The last thing to know is that for returning families, you will have first priority to re-register, which means you will get in before anybody else. This is especially relevant if you're a preschool family, since after school this year is only open to returning families. But if you're a preschool family, you get first priority through Thursday, July 9th. After July 9th, we will be opening preschool registration to the public. So make sure that if you want a preschool spot in the fall, you need to register before July 9th. And then if you're an after-school family, in order to have a backpack at our back-to-school bash this year, you will also need to register by July 9th. So if you want that backpack that has all of your child's school supplies that we'll be giving away the Friday before school starts, again, that's Friday, August 14th for back-to-school bash, please register no later than July 9th so we can get you on that list. So if there aren't any questions, we can go ahead and sign off. Thank you guys so much for watching with us. I hope that this explains the re-registration process. Stay healthy. We can't wait to see you guys in August. And if you have any questions, we'll be posting this video to our YouTube and Facebook. So if you missed anything or came in a little bit late and want to find out about our enrollment policies or who's eligible this year, that will be available on this recording later this evening or tomorrow. So thank you guys. You have our contact if you think of any questions, and we literally cannot wait to see you. We love you so much. Hug your babies for us and tell them we miss them too. See you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you all for coming.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.